Hi everyone, this is module number 163 for the subject of strategic human resource management. And as you people recall and you people know that we are talking about employee engagement, and this chapter is devoted for one construct, that is employee engagement. So what is employee engagement? We were talking about Khan's definition of employee engagement and Khan's definition of employees disengagement. As I said that the Kant's definition is dominant in the literature. However, there are some other authors as well. We will talk about them in the later modules. But Kant, when he first wrote this article and it was published in 1990s, it received only few thousand of citations in the literature in the first 10 years. Few thousand of citations. What do you understand by citations? Actually, when people quote your work, when people quote your work. For example, you have written a book and people, when they are writing their books, they are citing something from your book in their books. When people are writing an article, a research article, they are writing or referring something in their article from your article. So this is how many times your work has been cited is important in terms of the value of your work. If your work has not been cited, unfortunately, for any reasons, and it is not appearing in the other literature in the field of whatsoever is your field, that actually question the contribution in terms of value of your work. So Kant's early work in the 1990s to 2000 had only 5,000 citations. But however, now you go back to the Google Scholar, just type employee engagement or Kant's 1990, you may find that a lot more thousands of citations has emerged over the last 20 years. The reason is that increased interest in employee engagement. Why increase interest? We have talked about that in the previous modules, that employee engagement has a positive outcomes for both parties. At least this is what literature suggests, though not all the literature. We will talk about what is the theory behind employee engagement, why employees would devote their physical energy, why employees will devote their cognitive energy, why employees will devote their emotional energy at work or in their job. Why? What is the theory behind it? So psychological meaningfulness. So we talk about that. Khan has identified three mechanisms or three factors that actually drive employee engagement. Those can be called as antecedents of employee engagement, or you may call them the conditions that will drive employee engagement. Or in other words, if these conditions do not exist, employees may not show engagement in their work. What are those conditions? The first thing, psychological meaningfulness. What we mean by psychological meaningfulness, when employees feel that their work is meaningful, their work is valued, their work is important. This is what drives employee engagement. If you see that your work is not valued, or it has no meaning to you, then it is very less likely that one will engage in his or her work, in his or her task. For example, if a teacher considers that his work is meaningful and psychologically he perceives it is meaningful because the teacher is contributing in the student's life, the teacher is contributing in the development of students and the progression of students to make them a better citizen and to help them to find a better job and have a better life. And if a teacher believes that this is his contribution, so this is why we say psychological meaningful is important, because when you see that your job is psychologically meaningful, that can foster employee engagement. However, what we mean by psychological meaningfulness, from where it will come? It can come from three sources, because it is a meaningfulness of your job. So task characteristics, what you are doing in the organization. Role characteristics, what is your role in the organization, or what is your role in that task, and work interactions, the kind of interactions you have with the work and with the others who are also at work. So Khan identified that psychological meaningful is driven by these three things at workplace. Work itself, the characteristics of work. Now, do you think that only scientists and researchers and teachers and doctors will have a psychological meaningfulness because their job is important? What about the sweepers? What about those who clean the classes? What about those who are working as a security guard in a school or in a university? They may think that their job is psychologically meaningful. They are providing security to the people who are the leaders of future, or who belongs to the future generation. They would be leading your country. They would be looking for the organizations to operate. So it is important, even the sweepers, the security guards can think about that. Yes, their job is meaningful because they are facilitating the students to have a nice atmosphere in the university or in the college. The second characteristics of Khan's theory is psychological safety. According to Khan, people will not devote themselves unless they don't feel safe to do at workplace. For example, they will not take risk if it is not safe for them. The risk can be they may lose their job, or they may produce something which is not acceptable. Their idea can be discarded. So interpersonal relations, group and intergroup dynamics, and management style and organizational norms. These are the things that will make employees to feel that they are safe at workplace. For example, management style and process. If your job is threatened every day, if your work is threatened every day, would you devote yourself in your work? Very less likely. So now let's move to the third factor, theoretical factor identified by the Khan. He suggested that psychological availability, that is the psychological availability is a resource, right? Mentally you can be at home, mentally you can be in problems you have, or mentally or psychologically you can be at work. Definitely there are limitations. Employees see that whether they have, for example, you are more interested in other things. For example, you are more interested in sports. For example, you are more interested in issues at home. For example, you have more interested in pursuing your own goals in your life. When you are pursuing your own goals in your life, from where you will bring that energy needed to invest in your work, in your job. So psychological availability, or psychological, physical energy, emotional energy, insecurity, and outside life, because people have limited resources. It depends on how much resources they have to invest to in their organization or in their job. So Khan has a very clear theory about that. There are three characteristics at workplace, or three factors at workplace. They are important in terms of employee engagement. Absence of psychological availability, absence of psychological safety, absence of psychological meaningful will hinder the employee engagement, or could be a barrier to employee engagement. Thank you.